Welcome back, children. Gather round, take a seat. Your two favorite uncles, Keith and Matt, are here to tell you a story. We're going to tell you about the emergence of UFC and its network television programming emerging onto the world stage of network sports on ESPN. We're going to tell you about two tiny little wrestlers who learned how to punch people in the face really well, and now they'll be punching each other in the face for supremacy of two divisions. We're going to talk about two astonishingly attractive women who will also be punching each other in the face for supremacy of who can be the more attractive fighter. Or the better fight. I don't know. Something like that. One of them is probably going to be less good looking than the other at the end of the fight. But who knows? Maybe it'll work for her. Couldn't be any worse than like botched plastic surgery, I'm sure. But anyway, as avid listeners of the show would know, we've talked about best worst movies before. Bad movies that we still liked. But today, as this is an MMA-oriented episode, we're going to get into a little bit of a best worst lists for fighters. And I can't wait to see what you have to say about it. Who are your favorite best worst fighters? Because you're about to find out who ours are on the best worst podcast in the world, the Back and Bone Show. So as always, take a seat, get comfortable, pour yourself a drink, light some candles, get the ambiance just right, and enjoy the show.
You shut up now.
Mikasa é Sukasa. That comes Shivu. Let the party begin!
Your ears you keep, and I'll tell you why.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Take this quarter. Go downtown and have a rat gnaw that thing off your face. Good day to you, man.
I broke my back.
Okay, let's fucking go.
You know, I don't want to sound like a queer or nothing, but I'm really gonna miss you guys when the show's over.
All right, we're on. We're live in action. Hey, as Matt the Back says. Welcome back, everyone. MMA episode number 2 here. We're going to be talking about the upcoming UFC Fight Night on ESPN. Fight Night 143. Cejudo versus Dillashaw. Or is it Cejudo? Is he not Latin American? What is he?
I don't know.
I've heard
people.
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah. I say Cejudo. I feel like if you're Hispanic, you never pronounce things with a J in Hispanic.
Is he Hispanic? Is that a key?
No, yeah, he's Hispanic. He speaks Spanish.
Yeah, I thought he was Hispanic, but I hear people say Cejudo, like, but that just sounds super fucking white. Like, that's not good.
Cejudo? Yeah, that sounds. Cejudo can go one of two ways for me. It either sounds like a white guy trying to pronounce a Spanish word, or it kind of sounds like a Japanese word.
It could be Japanese, but that might just be because
the word judo being in it. But judo, like, I don't know. That sounds. Are you eating sour cream? What is that? It's a yogurt.
All right. I guess I should have assumed that. That'd be pretty weird if you were just fucking pummeling sour cream down your throat.
You never know. I do like sour cream.
Dude, I love sour cream. It's like one of the best things in the world.
Honestly, though, plain Greek yogurt, which is what I'm eating, and sour cream taste almost the same.
Yeah, that's true.
They're
I
not
think sour
too far
cream
off.
would be a little bit better on its own than just plain Greek yogurt.
Yeah. Agree to disagree on that one.
I don't know, dude. Plain Greek yogurt's pretty repulsive. A little honey on it's really good. You ever do that? Just honey?
Yeah. I mean, I really like sour. I don't like the taste of plain Greek yogurt by any means. It's not my favorite food. It's more just like a necessity, like quick little thing that I'll eat. Yeah. But I don't mind it.
Good nutrients to keep the body going. Yeah,
Exactly. This back ain't gonna build itself. All right.
that's true. You've got to, that back is all full of Greek yogurt,
I wake up in the middle of the night and I eat yogurt. I got
Just
it next to my bed.
raw milk protein. It's curdled phase.
Mhm.
All right, so you want to start with the fights, or you want to start with our lists?
Let's start with the fights because I actually don't have a list.
All right. Oh, you want to hear,
So,
you want to hear what I came up with?
I'll probably piggyback off yours and kind of
Well,
desperately try to think of things as we go.
Yeah, I mean, for the people who haven't, well, all of you, because none of you have been privy to our private conversations. We were talking about coming up with a list of like our top 5 fighters with bad technique that are actually good fighters, regardless.
I do have one in mind
Uh-huh.
that I believe will be a controversial choice.
We'll get to that. I don't want you to go throwing that out there.
I'm not letting it get out.
I was actually I mean it probably would have been a little easier for me if we were thinking of like actual like fighters who were skilled or had really good technique that never really were able to like pull it off. Like I was always more enamored with those fighters like the like Mike Pyle and fucking like Elvis Sinisek, guys who are like super technical and super like skilled and like enough to make a name for themselves, even though they couldn't fucking string together any wins.
Yeah, those are the guys you'd hear about like being kind of like the gym heroes.
Yeah.
Who, you know, were always like the team leaders. They were always the best dudes in the gym. For whatever reason, mentally, it was difficult for them to.
Yeah, or just physically, like they were guys who like brought stuff to the table that made everyone around them better, but just didn't really pull it off in the fights for whatever reason.
That's a theory in itself, though. What if physically? What if that's a problem? Maybe they were putting too much out in the gym, and then by the time they got to fight night,
true, that could be it too. But I mean, I just always noticed like when you would even see it in their fights, they were super technically sound, skilled guys who just. Yeah. When it came to the performance, they just weren't able to do enough. They weren't able to like make it work. But anyway, back to Fight Night 143. This is the first one on ESPN, right? Never done it before.
No.
Dear God.
First one on ESPN. Never thought I would. I mean, I always kind of knew we'd see the day. I don't know how I feel about it either because.
Well, ESPN was kind of a shit talker on MMA for a long time. Like they were big haters.
ESPN has always treated MMA as kind of like second fiddle to other to boxing, basically.
Yeah. More than second fiddle, they made statements along the vein of like it's not a real sport. It's it's a sideshow. Like things that are pretty deep cutting to real MMA fans and the competitors in MMA, like shit we don't like to hear.
Well, ESPN they're weird now too. They're like trying to create, they're like the Walmart of sports. They're creating a monopoly on everything.
Sure.
They signed I think they signed a contract with WWE like with a couple years back.
Really?
They show a lot of WWE programming now too, and they even cover it. They had Brock Lesnar on there, but I think what happened was WWE ended up signing a contract with Fox.
You're telling me you can't hear that coffee thing? It's like so loud.
I can definitely hear it, but
it's like it's farting now.
It's not a too big of a nuisance.
No, yeah. So they're taking over WWE, and
so now, but then Fox ended up, I think, signing some kind of a contract with WWE. I want to say.
I think it is absolutely insane in this day and age for any network to be, or for any organization, any content provider of any kind to be investing in a network. Who the fuck watches TV anymore?
They're not investing. Here's the thing, though. They're not investing in the network. The network is investing in them.
That's true. That's a good point.
Like for WWE, for instance, I know that like USA Network, the one that shows Monday Night Raw, they pay them a lot of money to be on that channel. Because even though WWE's viewers have kind of dwindled over the last few years, they still bring in like really, really huge numbers, and internationally it's like a huge product. So I know they get paid really good amounts of money to be on those networks.
I just feel like it is sort of the way of the future that every content provider is sort of just gonna any production of any kind is just gonna eventually have to branch out and do their own thing and become a live streaming or a streaming or live streaming service where
Yeah,
people can watch it on their own time. They can watch it when they're available to watch it, because that's like the biggest problem with network TV when we have the availability of the internet is watching shit when it happens. We've had like DVRing forever, but a lot of people don't fucking do that.
I think eventually we will get to the point where network TV will just pretty much be a thing of the past.
Yeah. We're almost there, dude. We're on the cusp of it.
We're almost there, but you still have there's just for lack of a better term, there's just a lot of simpletons out there who want to sit down and watch their
just what's on
Monday nights, Dancing with the Stars, and you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, I still have I have fond memories. Like, I mean, there is an element, something's lost in not doing that anymore. Because I remember we were talking about this on our last podcast when we were talking about Beyond Belief, how Friday night we had our routine. We watched The Simpsons. We watched Beyond Belief. We watched, you know, like whole families together. We used to watch like Maximum Exposure as a family. You remember that show?
Yeah, I remember that show. I love that show.
But yeah, it's I mean, that's getting lost. I remember the video store experience. You remember going to like rent movies at a movie rental place?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah,
my favorite thing, that was the first thing that really sparked my interest in like horror movies and stuff like that, because they always had the most interesting art on their covers.
Yeah.
It was almost when you went to the video store and you were looking at like old horror movie cover art, it was like looking at random comic books. And you're like, man, you had no clue what was behind each one.
What's going to be inside of it. Yeah. And a lot of the time it would just be these god awful movies.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then sometimes you'd be pleasantly surprised. Like I remember
you'd be pleasant. Sorry, go ahead.
I still remember the first time I saw Evil Dead, and I had seen that at the the video store for years, and I was like, what is Evil Dead? Like I had no clue what it was. I was like 9 years old. And then I finally took it home and watched it, and my mind was like blown.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, that's like because it was so cheap, but they did such a good job. It was pretty scary.
Yeah. The original one was a college movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he did it on a really low budget.
Yeah. It was like it was just him and his friends basically. They used like cream corn for like the shit oozing out of like the sleeves and stuff. Like
there's one scene where you could see one of the zombie girls. You could literally see her actual finger poking out of the glove. Finger. There's a bunch of little things like that in there, but
and it's funny for contrast to see like the new one, the 2013 one.
I actually never watched that one.
It wasn't bad, but we're getting off topic here. We're getting into our movie reviews again. Yeah. But really, the point is just that, like, you know, I see UFC, MMA, and everything sort of becoming its own streaming network service, like everything else should be. You can pull it up on your phone. You can pull it up on your computer.
I don't think there's anybody that's done it right yet. UFC's streaming service that they have, UFC Fight Pass, is god fucking awful. It's that's shit.
Yeah, that's why I don't fuck with it.
UFC, if they were smart, they would look at. Now the problem is UFC makes a lot of money off pay-per-views. So they would never show their pay-per-views on Fight Pass. WWE's little package that they have is like amazing. They quit doing pay-per-views. They put all of their content on their thing. And you pay $10 a month for it, and it's 100. If you're a fan of that, it's 110% worth that $10 a month.
Right.
UFC Fight Pass, they give you like a cup. It's garbage. They give you a couple fights. So they'll give you like the early prelims.
Yeah,
dudes.
They have like that's the problem with the UFC. The whole UFC system is so fucking out of whack. Trying to watch it, it's like the early prelims are on Fight Pass. The early prelims are going to be on Fox 1. The prelims are going to be on.
So here's how those whatever they would. Yeah, I've seen this before. I've seen them do Facebook prelims.
Yeah.
Fight Pass prelims, Fox prelims.
Yeah.
And then the main card. It's like 4 different networks. Yeah. Get the fuck out of here.
It's insane. Like seriously, as a human being, I just want to put it on and watch it. And I want to watch the whole card. I want to watch every single fight they have. I can't tell you how many times I've accidentally put on the prelims and been super pleasantly surprised that were the best fights of the night.
And I'm the same way. I like to sit there. I treat the card like it's an event. You know, it's like you're building up to the crescendo. I want to watch it from the beginning.
Right.
But I don't think they realize how hard they make it to be a fan sometimes.
And expensive.
Yeah.
And it's illegal to ever watch the fights after they've happened.
Yeah.
There's like no way to ever see what happened if you missed it the first time, unless you're going to stream it online or pay, $60 or whatever it is, $75 for the replay. It's full price for the replay if you want to watch it.
Something that could be interesting that I just thought of, if they had some kind of like a tier system for the pay-per-view, where like, this would probably be way too complicated, but maybe something where like you could pay a discounted rate if all you want to watch is like the main fight.
Right.
And like they could put it into brackets or something like that, Yeah,
that would be complicated
they would lose a lot of money though.
Like, sure, you got to go to this other channel now. No.
They would lose a lot of money though, because like when they have those big giant fights like McGregor versus Khabib, a big portion of the people who are watching those aren't diehard fans, and they're just going to pay for the main fight.
Well, just think about how many people are out there that are watching fights illegally, or just not watching fights because it's too complicated or too difficult to watch them, too expensive. If they did a system where it was just affordable, it was realistic for people, because like there's no fucking way I can afford to buy a pay-per-view every time there's a pay-per-view. They're too fucking expensive. I don't make that kind of money. So I mean, I either got to go watch them somewhere or watch them illegally, but if I want to see them at all. But if there was some like fairly reasonable system where I could pay regularly, like you said, like the $10 a month, 15, even like $20 a month, it would be like hands down for sure. I would watch everything.
If UFC, if they came out with something where they said, pay us, even if they went as high as $25 a month.
Yeah.
If they said pay us $25 a month, but we give you every pay-per-view for the whole year, I would do it.
Yeah, for sure. And how many fucking millions of people would too that are not watching fights now? That would be a huge income increase. And they would have their ad revenue would increase and everything, because the more people watching and it's more trackable, because they have this system. There's too much money to be made on it.
Well, I guess that's what that company. Have you seen that company DAZN? DAZN.
What?
The one that you haven't heard of this? There's a company called, I think it's called DAZN.
DAZN.
DAZN. No. They just signed this huge, massive contract with Canelo Alvarez, and I think he's already fought on there once. But it's a network. It's like a fight network, basically.
Oh, I think
they're trying to become.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're trying to become like the Netflix of fighting. So moving forward, I believe every time Canelo fights, it's going to be on that network. I believe.
Yeah, that's fucking. Oh, is that the one he did? Like he got like a $365 million contract with.
Yeah, it was a crazy contract. I think it was like the biggest contract in the history of boxing.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I heard. Which is awesome. It's great. Yeah. Anything that's increasing the revenue. And you know what? I think it's really important that the money gets concentrated that way too. Like that it gets like the content that's coming out is what we want to see. It's more available to us. That way the ad revenue is more specific to what people want to see than the product that gets made is more specifically what people want to see. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
More money in everybody's pockets who deserves it.
Yeah.
And we as viewers are paying for what we want to see, as opposed to a bunch of extra shit and what we want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so UFC 143, the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, we got Dillashaw versus Cejudo Cejudo. Back on this. Cejudo.
We did talk about this a little bit last time, and I was saying how
we did.
I'm definitely rooting for TJ on this one.
Yeah, I'm going for TJ. I like TJ more. I think TJ's a little bit more, a lot bit more competent of a striker.
Yeah,
he's got a more spectacular striking resume.
He's just way funner to watch.
Yeah.
TJ Dillashaw doesn't have boring fights. I mean, all of his fights are super exciting, and a lot of times in those lower weight divisions, they all have very fast paced fights, but there's not a lot of finishes. A lot of the times, like TJ, he finishes his fights. He just has good fights for the lower weight classes.
Sure.
So I just want to see him continue to win.
Something about Cejudo, he's just like kind of a dork too. I don't know what it is.
He's definitely kind of there's something I don't know. I just don't really care for fighters that lack charisma, I guess you could say. Not to say that TJ has a bunch of charisma, because he's not great on the microphone, but he makes up for it because he's such an exciting fighter.
He has a lot of style with how he fights.
Yeah. Cejudo's just kind of Cejudo feels like he's vanilla ice cream. There's just
effective.
He's effective, but he's not entertaining.
Yeah.
Really. Anyway.
Sure. I agree. But realistically, it's a close fight. It's really hard to say, one person is a massive favorite over the other.
It is hard to call. Yeah.
Who was I looking at that I was a couple fights down from the main event. We got Benavidez versus Dustin Ortiz, and I was just looking up their records, and I didn't realize, I mean, it's been a little while. I wasn't really thinking about it, but I forgot that Benavidez has a win over Cejudo.
Yeah, they fought a few years back.
Yeah.
It was a pretty close fight, but I remember thinking that Benavidez clearly won the fight. I mean, it wasn't like I think it was Cejudo's fight. It was after he fought DJ. He fought after that, and he dropped that one too, I believe.
Yeah. So that's just a little interesting thing.
There was rumors for a while that they were just going to get rid of that 125-pound division completely, but I guess that's not going to happen now. I don't know.
I hope not. It's a great division. It's not super popular, but it has really great fights in it. Those little 125-pounders are. Yeah, no,
I would be. I mean, look, if they got
go away.
I don't want any division to go away. Would I be as like, if they were like, yeah, we're gonna get rid of the 185-pound division? Of course, I'd be way more sad.
Yeah, right.
20, like, to pretend like I care about the 125 as much as other divisions would be a lie.
Yeah,
I most certainly care about it the least out of any men's division, but I still like it. I still like some of the fights.
I'd be perfectly comfortable seeing a 115 division. I don't really care. I want to see all the fights, all the shapes and sizes. I think there's spectacular athletes that, like I just said, come in all shapes and sizes. There's a million ways for people to be good at fighting and exciting. And absolutely. cutting out divisions just makes it virtually impossible for some people to compete.
Yeah, if they were to get rid of that 125-pound division like that, a clear example is somebody like Demetrius Johnson, who that's the ideal division for him.
Right.
He's perfectly sized for that. Like, he did compete at 135. He dropped a couple fights in that division. I think his only 2 losses were to Cruz and Brad Pickett. Mm-hmm. But every time he lost in that division, it was just like when he fought Cruz, it wasn't that Cruz was technically better than him. Cruz could just muscle him around a little.
Right.
He was just too big of a dude.
Yeah, he looked bigger. You could just see, like, he was visibly larger.
Yeah.
He didn't have any business in there with him. And Uncle Dom's no joke, man.
He just but he got injured again. Did you hear about this?
He's always injured. He can't stop getting injured.
I don't know how I feel. Do you think he should retire?
I don't know, dude. I don't want to see him retire. I want to see him
either.
Fight. But the thing is, like, I don't know if he can fight anymore because he gets fucking blown out every time he starts training.
I would assume it has to be because Dominic Cruz is 33 right now. He's about to be 34. It has to be emotionally draining to prepare for these fights. He's had this happen.
He has like one fight every 4 years, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna guess off the top of my head, and say that Dominic Cruz has had this happen to him probably at least like 10 times.
Yeah,
that's probably not.
What is he doing to injure himself?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering.
He trains, like, I don't know the story here. So
it's weird too, because when you look at his fight record. He fought twice in 2011, and then he didn't fight again until 2014. He only fought once in 2014. Then he didn't fight again until 2016, but he fought 3 times that year in 2016. Now he hasn't fought since 2016.
Well, he fights frequently when he's not injured. He doesn't, wait around. But...
Yeah, and I think that those lower weight divisions, I think they need somebody like a Dominic Cruz. I love his personality. I think he's hilarious on the microphone. Yeah. He's constantly like clowning the other guys in that division. Right. And he's just genuinely smarter. He comes off genuinely smarter than the other guys in that division.
Yeah, he's another guy that I would describe as having just a genius level fight IQ.
For sure.
He's actually articulate and intelligent, like in a traditional sense, but as a fighter, he's super fucking smart. He is.
When you listen to Dominic Cruz, and that's like, for me, that's a surefire way for a fighter to win me over. Like when I hear him talk, and then there's actually, some legitimate, they're analytical in their approach, and they actually take the time to break things down. Right. I love that in a fighter. And I'm not usually a fan of the guys who are like, I'm just gonna fucking go out there and fucking throw hands and the first one to drop. Like that just kind of.
Way before he was ever famous, he beat up a ninja on a viral video.
I remember that. Yeah. That dude was way bigger than him too.
Yeah, I know. He fucking rolled that dude.
He beat the shit out of it. It was kind of sad actually.
That guy, really,
that just shows you how ruthless Dominic Cruz is. Like he's ruthless on the microphone. Like if he's gonna clown on another fighter, he goes at him full force.
Yeah.
There was this episode of Ultimate Fighter one time where he was coaching against Uriah Faber, and Uriah Faber was always walking around wearing tank tops and sandals. And they got into an argument once, and Dominic Cruz was like, "Look at you! You look like a bum walking around in sandals. You talk like a bum." And he just was so fucking mean to him. He was just a dick. And that's how it was in that video, though, when he beat the shit out of that dude off the street. Like this guy thought he was a ninja, and he beat the shit out of him like he would have beat the shit out of anybody.
Yeah,
like, he did not care. It was an absolute fucking.
Well, I remember watching that video like way back then. I think we were probably either like right after high school or in high school when it came out. It was like way before Dominic Cruz had like a real career like in WEC or anything. And it was just ninjutsu guy challenges MMA fighters. And, so I guess this guy just went into the gym. If you guys haven't seen it, like look it up. It's super funny. But yeah, this guy, he was like a ninjutsu guy. He just came into the gym. I mean, he was like, I'm like, this MMA shit's fucking whack, basically just talk some shit. And they're like, all right, we got somebody for you. They put him in with Dominic Cruz.
It's so funny how every time you see a video of when something like that happens, how I feel like those gyms have had that happen so many times, especially back then.
Right.
We're less informed. People now generally aren't that stupid. They know better than
you know what
even though I'm sure it happens still.
I'm still pretty surprised at how uninformed people are, even like people in combat sports communities about MMA. Like just the other day when we were talking about our list, when I was looking up fighters, and I just was like, fighters with shitty technique. MMA fighters with shitty technique. I was like Googling shit like that. And one of the things that came up was just all these lists about how all MMA fighters have shitty striking. It's like people not fucking understand it yet, that it's fucking different. It's right. MMA striking is completely different from boxing. It's completely
you're not. They don't understand. The rules are different.
Yeah,
like there's little things like for instance, just for
nuances, the subtle things are very different.
Just like for people listening, for like one of the things that MMA fighters will frequently get criticized by boxers about is like having too wide of a base when they're throwing their punches, something like that, because they might get taken down or they might get leg kicked. Like there's a lot of other variables that they have to account for that you're not having to.
Just because the one aspect looks like the same thing, it's being applied in such a different world. It's completely different.
Yeah.
It's so there's still like a lot of, and these were published articles. These weren't like just people's blogs. These were published articles on on combat sports websites that.
Well, it would be
I
no
was
different than
really
that would be
thrown
like
by it.
that would be like a wrestling. That would be like a national amateur wrestling organization
Mhm.
compiling a list and criticizing their wrestling technique. Of
Yeah.
course, it's not going to be world-class level because it's different. It's a different
Right.
sport. It's an entirely different sport.
It's applied completely differently.
That's like taking a comic book and criticizing, comparing it to a movie, two different mediums. You
Yeah.
can't really, it's just silly. People are silly.
Right. But yeah, that's all I mean is to just sort of recall how it seems like we're past that, but it's like,
no, but you're right. You're right. I have to talk to some stupid people all the time. People are so, people who don't follow any kind of combat sports or martial arts, you're right. They are very naive to a lot of things. And I'm still shocked till this day at some of the things that they'll say. I mean, just some of the really, really dumb things.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. Yeah. I actually come across that all the time. And then it's like, I feel like a broken record because then I have to start explaining to them.
And I feel like I have the same conversations so many times with different people that I feel like I'm fucking crazy. I feel like I sound ridiculous because it's all like pre-rehearsed at this point because I've said it so many times. Like,
no, I feel the exact same way. I literally have like a script that I will use every time I have to.
But it's always things that sound so fucking obvious. Like I feel like I'm just describing fucking common sense.
Well, and no, you're right, but it's no different than if I get a new client that I'm training, and to me, telling them how to do a lunge. This in my head, it's like I've ran through this thousands of times. It's going to sound so simple, but something really, really small might be really mind blowing to them. They've never just taken the time to research it before.
I get that a lot when I teach or when I teach beginners. Exactly. Is like a lot of the time I'll have a hard time remembering what I need to tell people because I'm like, this shit is so basic,
so simple to you,
really overlooking it.
Yeah,
I've done this. It was so long since I first learned this, like how to throw like a jab or how to shoot a double, that I have to like rethink about like, I have to pretend I don't know this at all.
You know what you realize in the process of doing that is people don't do a lot of research. They don't take a lot of initiative on their own. Some people do.
I don't ever expect them to. When people come in, I go.
They're
like,
coming to learn from you, so it's like,
this is what you're coming to me for. Why would you be?
But I think from in my mind, you always expect people naturally. You think to yourself, you expect them to kind of do things the way you do things. You think, that's don't you just go look it up, like. You know what I mean?
That's what I was gonna say is because that's how you and me are. That's how we got into what we do. We figured it out first, and then we needed advanced instruction.
Right. Yeah.
So I didn't, and I would tell people when I would teach them all the time when I give them my little like after class speech, be like, it's like, hey, you can come in here and have me teach you how to throw a jab every single fucking day. You can keep paying for your membership and you can come in and I could teach you how to throw a jab and I could teach you how to throw a jab next week. And I could teach you how to throw a jab the week after that. Or you can go practice it at home and I'll teach you something else.
That's a good way of putting it. And it's funny you say that because I have a lot of clients like that where I can't even tell you how many times I've showed them the same things over and over again. Just like, don't let your knees collapse when you do a squat. I mean, just like very minute details. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I guess that's what you're there for.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, some people are going to want to get more out of it than others. And other people are just they're going to be happy with, the fact that they're fucking doing it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't care. You come in and you get what you want.
I mean, you're going to be there either way instructing. So it's
the only thing that would bother me about it is when I'd be teaching a class and I would have people at different tiers the whole time. So I would have to adjust the class schedule based on what the weakest links were at. It's like, oh,
that is frustrating. That is frustrating. If you're trying to do, I mean, it could go both ways, but like if you have, just different skill levels in the class And there may be, you could have a class of like 6 people, let's say, and there's 5 of them that are all fairly advanced, or 4 of them that are fairly advanced, and you want to do that stuff. But then there's 2 people in class that aren't on the same level, and you have to give them more attention, and it can be frustrating.
Well, also there's a really important differentiation too, is like, I'm not a fitness instructor. So when I'm teaching a class, I'm not having you work hard and catch up. I'm teaching you technique. And if you're not, I mean, you're teaching technique as a fitness class too, but I mean,
but it's different because you have to actually get on the ground, and it's more time consuming.
Right. There's stages to what you're learning. Like, when I'm teaching you like a technique series or something, and if you don't know how to throw a kick, you're not going to be able to throw this combo that I'm putting together for the people who are ready to throw this combo. If you don't know how to shoot a takedown, if you don't know how to shoot a double, you're not going to be ready to do this 1, 2, 3 double to guard pass armbar combo like sequence that I'm going to work on with you. So I got like 1 person in the class who's just learning how to throw a jab, and I have 5 people who are trying to get to this next advanced stage, and I have to keep fucking zigzagging between them and be like, all right, I don't want everybody else to hold up because this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Right. Yeah.
But it's similar. I would say it's probably really similar in fitness classes, but like what type of group fitness classes would you teach though? There'd be like yoga and stuff like that would be there's a lot of technique in that.
For me, I do basically everything. I mean, I'll do yoga, Pilates, weightlifting, steel mace, steel club, kettlebell, spin. I mean, literally everything.
Yeah.
So it just depends. Yeah. Some are easier than others. Yoga, there's definitely technique, but it's more like alignment cues. That's pretty easy to instruct and address the whole class as one,
right?
Like something is okay. You want your crown of your head lined up with a straight line from the crown of your head down to your tailbone, and you want one hand to line up with you can use those cues, and then you just look at the class and you walk around, and if one person's off, you just make a slight adjustment.
Right.
So it's easier in some ways, but it ultimately just depends on the complexity of what you're teaching. Like if you decide then, okay, now I want to go into teaching a clean and press.
Right.
You're going to have people all over the place. You can do a whole hour just teaching people how to do a clean and press.
Sure. That's a much more like dynamic, specific movement too. So that's going to be more common.
And there's moves that I'll purposefully avoid in group settings if I know, like if it's a weekend and I want everybody just to get in and get their workout done, I will purposefully keep it less complex movement. Like I'll just have them do in a group class goblet squats with the kettlebell and just stuff like that. And then if I know it's going to be a smaller class and I can get to everybody, then I will make it more complex.
Yeah. See, like when I teach classes, I really like to be I like to be technical. I like to treat it like classroom style. Like I don't give people workouts. That's what I was getting at when I said I'm not a fitness instructor. I'm not here to like pressure you. I'm not going to make you do like bag work. I'm not going to make you do push-ups or like sprints across the room or fucking up downs or anything. I'm going to teach you techniques, and I'm going to make you work those techniques so you're good at them.
Well, and that's how it should be in martial arts. I think a lot of times martial arts instructors will get it confused where they try to, and I get what they're trying to do. I mean, it's a business model, you got to do what you got to do to make money. And if people are showing up expecting, I want to get my cardio kickboxing class in or whatever it may be.
And if you're doing a cardio kickboxing class, it's fucking great. That's what you should.
But they need to understand the difference. They need to understand the difference going into it.
Yeah.
Because I've had that happen before where I could visibly, like if I'm working with somebody one-on-one, we do take the time to break things down a lot more and get more technical with the instruction. But I've done group classes before where I do get too technical, and I could just see, like in a fitness class, you have to keep the energy levels high, you have the music, you got to just keep people moving,
Yeah.
And because they want to walk out of there feeling like you want to get those endorphins up, basically.
Right.
They want to feel like they did something. So it's like kind of a juggling act, and it depends on the client.
There's an amount of exercise, like a much higher than average, I would say, amount of exercise you're going to get doing a class of mine, just working those techniques. Like, don't get me wrong, like, unless you're an already athletic person who has higher demands on their body, like an average person coming in and doing a class that I would teach would get plenty of exercise.
Yeah,
the mitt work and the pad work and the grappling techniques and the actual rolling and sparring that we're going to be doing.
Right.
There's a good amount of physicality that's going to go into that. But my point is, like, I'm not gonna take it back and take breaks from that fight oriented, martial arts technique oriented work and go, now we're gonna do fucking jump squats for 5 minutes.
Right.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna teach you fight stuff, and we're gonna do fight stuff.
Yeah. I know for me, like if I was to go to a martial arts class and if they had me doing jump squats and stuff like that, I would feel like it's a waste of my time and money.
Yeah.
This is something that I could do on my own.
Exactly.
I want to learn something new while I'm here.
That's my exact philosophy on it. Is like, you can fucking run hills on your own. You don't fucking need me for that.
Yeah.
I'm here to teach you stuff that you can't learn without me.
Right. Yeah. Oops.
Yeah.
Dropped my headphones.
You sure did.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But all right. So let's try to get back to these fights. I know we're getting, I like what we're talking about. We had a little bit of a specific itinerary here we wanted to get to. Is the Teixeira versus Cutelaba fight is off, right?
Yeah, the guy that Teixeira was fighting got injured, but I think they replaced him with somebody else.
Did they? I don't know. I saw to be announced on
I think I read an article. It might have been yesterday, or I think there's somebody who jumped in, but I don't remember the name of the guy.
I don't like. This is a pretty big fight. It's a pretty big event. This is a pretty huge deal overall.
Yeah.
I don't like that a guy who has no prior UFC experience and he's only had 3 professional fights is the co-main event.
Real quick note: Carl Robertson is the guy who stepped in to fight Teixeira.
Carl Robertson. I don't know him.
I don't even know who it is. I think he looks familiar. I've seen this guy fight before. But anyways, So you're talking about
Greg Hardy. Yeah.
Greg
Hardy. I don't know a lot about him. I looked him up. I got whatever information I could. I know he's 3-0 in amateurs with all TKOs. He has 2 TKOs and 1 KO as a professional. I know he did the Dana White Contender Series.
Yeah,
but he has no UFC experience, and he's already co-headlining a major UFC event. It's fine. I'm sure he's fucking great. I'm sure he'll do fine.
The whole reason they're doing it is because he's a former NFL player.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's just to get more eyes, and I guess if you're going for that ESPN crowd, maybe that's one way of doing it. I don't know.
Alan Crowder, I know his name. I looked him up and I didn't really recognize him. I know I've heard the name Alan Crowder around. I tried to see some clips of him. There wasn't a lot. He's got a little bit of a wishy-washy record. Was he 9 and he was like 9-2 or something, 9-3. Not a bad record.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen Alan Crowder fight. It's not even ringing a bell for me.
Yeah, it was definitely ringing a bell, but I don't. I think he was on the Contender Series as well. I think that's probably where I heard him from.
That's probably why, because I don't think I've ever actually even sat down and watched an episode of the Contender Series.
I haven't. I've only heard it referenced on the fights and on like podcasts and stuff. So I only know of it from, or I only know about it from that. But It's just the Contender Series is like, it's not like a reality TV show, right? It's like actual fights. No. Yeah.
They basically just show up and they just fight. There's no.
It's awesome.
No build up or I mean it's definitely awesome the way that they have it. One fight I was looking at. I'm looking at this card right now. Gregor Gillespie. Yeah, Gillespie versus Yancy and Medeiros. Yeah. I like that fight. I like that's a guy that's
a good matchup.
Not a lot of people. Yeah, well, not a lot of people have heard of him. But he's a really, really good fighter. Gregor. He's a fucking really good wrestler, actually, and he's undefeated. He's
he's like 11-0, I think, right?
12-0.
12-0.
Yeah. He doesn't have any like huge names on his resume, but
no, but he's pretty cleanly tuned up everybody he's fought. Like I haven't even really seen him struggle a lot with anybody.
No, apparently fighting is like a side thing for him.
Really?
He's like really gnarly good fisherman. And apparently
fisherman. I thought you were gonna say like he's like a brain surgeon.
No, that's what he does. Like
got 6 PhDs. And
no, I think he gets paid to fish. He
he's like a professional fisherman.
He's a professional fisherman.
He's like not like Bass Pros or whatever.
No, he's like I saw some pictures.
He's already on ESPN. He has a fishing show.
I think he does more like he's not like deep sea fishing or nothing like that. I think he does more like the pictures that I saw, it looked like he was like on a lake in a smaller boat.
Yeah, so he is like one of those Bass Masters guys.
He's like remember the Fish Masters that used to come on?
Really late at night? There you go. Yeah.
The Fish Masters.
Yeah,
it was really horrible.
Show? I thought it was
its own show.
I thought it
would come on.
I thought it was a skit on something.
It started out as a skit, I believe, but it was its own show. It would come on after Saturday Night Live, and it was a local. I think those guys were from, like San Luis.
Really?
Yeah. It was a local.
I vaguely remember what you're talking about. I thought it was like a skit on like Adult Swim or something.
No, Fishmasters was like it predates Adult Swim.
Really?
Yeah, Fishmasters was on when I was a little kid.
Dude, it's all a blur.
When I was like 7 or 8 years old, Fishmasters.
Adult Swim's pretty old, dude. I don't know if you may not be giving credit to how far back Adult Swim goes.
I'm trying to think of how long has Adult Swim been around for?
I don't know exactly, but it's fucking ancient.
If I had to guess, I would say like 98.
Could be right, but we were kids in 98.
Yeah.
I was 9, bro. 9.
98. No. Adult Swim was launched September 2nd, 2001.
Damn, that's really close, though.
It is pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I still kind of remember when it first came out. Because it came out after Toonami.
Yes, Toonami was first. Toonami, and then Adult Swim was like, but Toonami is definitely ancient. Toonami was super cool. But if we go down that rabbit hole, dude, we're gonna be talking about fucking anime.
Yeah, no, we don't want to go into that.
Yeah. So we got Benavidez versus Dustin Ortiz. Now it's weird how in some of his pictures, Dustin Ortiz looks like a mini Cody Garbrandt.
Yeah, I guess
he does. But like when you actually see him on the videos and everything, he doesn't look anything like him. But like,
no, he doesn't.
UFC picture, he looks just like a little fucking Cody Garbrandt.
He kind of looks like a little munchkin, like a little hobbit.
Yeah, kind of. So I was looking up. I never really saw Dustin Ortiz's fights, but
you're right. He does kind of. I'm just pulled up a few photos of him, and in these photos, he does look like him. But he looks like he looks like he might have some slight dwarfism.
He may have a little dwarfism to him.
He's got a head on him.
But he's like tall and skinny though.
Yeah, like it's just in these photos, because when I've seen him fight, yeah, he does look like a little more lanky than this.
So when I was looking up Dustin Ortiz's fights, the first one that I brought up was Brandon Moreno. Do you remember Brandon Moreno?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I forgot about him. Assassin Baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was actually pretty good. Like I forgot about that dude till I watched that. He like his style, he reminded me of like a more athletic Luke Kumo.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of guys from that era who like guys that like there's a lot of guys for me like that fought for like WEC and stuff that just kind of
evaporated. They never really like made a mark, but like
and I'm like I remember watching them a lot, but they just kind of disappeared.
Yeah. But yeah, I just remember that dude. He had a good like killer instinct, a good fucking fight style.
Brandon Moreno, God, that's crazy. He's still really young. He's only 25.
Well, he looked like a baby. That's why his nickname was Assassin Baby.
Yeah, but it just feels like, I don't know. It feels like he's been around longer than that to me. But I guess.
Well, he was a later generation than like what I just compared him to, like the Luke Kumo generation. He hasn't been around that long.
No, yeah, his first. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's true.
But I just haven't seen him around in a while. So, but yeah, Dustin Ortiz, I don't really see a lot of reasons why he should beat Benavidez. I don't really think that
the only reason I could see him beating him is simply the fact that sometimes fighters like Benavidez, who have made it to the title shot a few times and they're top-notch fighters, they'll kind of hit this stage in their career where they probably in the back of their head know the chances of them working themselves back up to that position are a little slim. So they'll start dropping fights that they shouldn't have dropped because of that. I'm not saying I don't think
probably
in that position.
Yeah. Probably not. The only I was looking up, because I was thinking that about Benavidez as well. But I was looking up his recent losses and everything. He's only, aside from Dominic Cruz and Mighty Mouse DJ, he only lost to Sergio Pettis, which is like I would expect him to beat Sergio Pettis. But,
yeah, that's kind of a surprising one.
Yeah.
I remember that was like a razor close fight, I believe.
Yeah,
too.
But it's also like he's been beating everybody else. He hasn't been really on like a losing streak or anything.
I actually saw when he dropped his second fight against Demetrius Johnson. I was there for that one. That was the one where Demetrius Johnson knocked him out.
Yeah,
dude, it took place in Sacramento. So people in this audience, you had an audience filled of like huge Team Alpha Male fans, and they were all fucking rooting for Benavidez. They were so sad when he got knocked out cold, and Demetrius Johnson at that point never knocked anybody out, and then he comes out and flatlines Benavidez, and like the look of the people in this audience, because they were going nuts, and then they all just looked shocked. They were like, eyes were like this. And from that point moving forward, before that, I was never a huge Demetrius Johnson fan. After that, I was like, I like this guy. He came to Sacramento and just fucking knocked their dude out.
And he just made everybody smell shit, and then he left. He just farted in the room and walked out.
They were extra stoked because prior to that, you had Uriah Faber versus Michael McDonald, not the singer Michael McDonald, and
or the kickboxer Michael McDonald.
Or the kickboxer. Yeah, we don't want to get back into this again.
Or 6 or 7 of the other
Michael McDonald.
MMA fighter Michael McDonald.
But before that, Uriah Faber had like a gnarly fight with Michael McDonald where he ended up finishing him. So DJ.
So everybody's just losing it.
They're losing it.
Yeah.
And I'm drunk. I barely remember it.
Yeah, that was amazing. That's those good old days.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Paige Van Zandt versus Rachel Ostovich.
I've never heard of these ladies. Who are they?
I know Paige Van Zandt. Never heard of Rachel Ostovich before, but apparently she's like a supermodel or something.
Okay, let's just get this out of the way.
Yeah,
we know, everybody knows why they put this fight together, and it's not the first time they've done it. They have a tendency to do this.
It's definitely the best time they've done it. This is well put
I would
together.
tend to agree that this is most certainly the best looking female fight in the history of the UFC.
These are two of by far the hottest female fighters.
Well, and they're here's the thing though. Brazzers couldn't have done this better. they're perfectly contrasted. You have Rachel Ostovich, who's, I don't even know what she is. I'm assuming she's like Latina or
she looks like she could be possibly like Asian, like Filipino or something.
Yeah, she's got a very exotic look.
Yeah.
Just like kind of has that exotic bombshell look.
Versus she also has like double D's and like
natural, unlike Paige Van Zandt, who recently got a boob job, and
good for her. Skinny little white girl. Sometimes they need a little help.
And Paige Van Zandt looks like the homegrown girl from the South, or she could be like a beach girl too, blonde hair.
She's got that blonde haired, blue eyed. Is she blue eyed? I don't know. Yeah.
From Oregon.
She's, you know, pretty little white girl. Both these girls are total smoke shows. They're super fucking bomb.
Yeah, this is a very perfect, like I said, perfectly contrasted. The balance of opposites.
Yeah, I can't tell you a lot about their fighting styles. I looked up their highlights. I wanted to get to know them better. Most of their highlights were them at weigh-ins and in like yoga mats doing squats. I shit you not. These were their fight highlights. It's all that I was seeing the whole time.
Well,
it was just like fucking Rachel Ostovich bouncing on a yoga ball the whole fucking time.
Paige Van Zant is definitely far more accomplished of the two, I would say. She's fought in way bigger opponents. And Paige Van Zant has that really gnarly I think it was Beck Rollins that she knocked out. She did like the not the crane kick, but she did that like jumping switch kick and knocked her out.
Yeah,
Van Zant is way more impressive of a fighter.
Van Zant has more of that like light on her feet, flashy style. Like she looks faster from what I've seen.
And she's tough too. Van Zant will grind. I mean, she's fought some girls that were she's gotten outclassed against girls that were a lot better than her and more experienced. But she's tough as fuck and she'll grind.
Well, she's when I say flashy, I just mean like she has a little bit more she looks like she has a little bit more like fluid movements.
She has a more athletic fighting style.
Yeah. Ostovich, she looks pretty stable. Like I got very few clips of her, but she looks like she has that real like forward moving inline strong base style. She doesn't look like a bad fighter. I don't know what to expect from her though. I honestly could find very little actual action.
There wasn't when I looked up Rachel from what I remember, there just wasn't anything in particular style-wise that really like stood out. Right. She just looked. But I mean, she didn't look bad. I didn't see anything wrong with what she was doing. She just seemed like she had a pretty strong base style. Her record is a little suspect. She's 4-4.
Yeah, but in the women's division, that's pretty common for the high-level ones. There's a lot of them that are.
Here's something interesting. Well, here's something interesting you could note about Rachel Ostovich's record is that her 4 losses were against girls. Were against girls that you can find on Wikipedia. Her 4 wins were against girls that you cannot find on Wikipedia, which would indicate that the women that she has beaten were not as or accomplished.
You know, that actually brings me back to Greg Hardy, we were talking about earlier. That was something I noticed when I looked him up too. I looked up all the guys he fought. They were all like absolutely nobody.
All
those knockouts he got were they were basically against punching bags.
Here's the roadmap. If I was going to put together a perfect roadmap for success for Greg Hardy, because he will most certainly fail when he reaches the top, because while he is a great athlete, he doesn't have a combat background, and he's not going to be able to catch up with some of the Olympic and college wrestlers that are coming from that background. But
realistically, not necessarily.
Not necessarily. This isn't set in stone, just my opinion.
Right.
But if I was going to set a perfect roadmap for Greg Hardy, keep feeding him cans. It's like the scene in 40-Year-Old Virgin where he's like, you got to run through these hood rats. You got to run through 10, 20 hood rats. Then you have sex with the girl you love. Mm-hmm. This is what you got to do with Greg Hardy. Just run him through hood rats.
Yeah, just run him through hood rats.
Get him to like 10-0 based just using cans. Then once he's 10-0 and he's got his confidence up, then give him a veteran fighter who's chinny.
And regardless, by the time he gets to that point, it's gonna. If he's 10-0 from knocking out fucking hood rats, he's gonna be selling big pay-per-views. He's gonna be selling a lot of money. He's gonna make a lot of money in it.
So yeah.
If they put him against somebody who might put him out, like they just go like, all right, we're gonna give you Ngannou now.
Give him these hood rats. He runs through 10 of them. Give him 2 veterans. Give him 2 solid victories over some chinny veterans who are on their way out and who could get their lights put out real quick.
Mm-hmm.
then you get the one big fight out of him. He'll probably lose.
You should be running the UFC. Look at you with your plans.
Probably lose, but at least you got that big moment from him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, you could at least make a big payday off him. There's a lot of potential here. I see what you're doing there. I see what you did there.
I'm thinking the long game.
Yeah, thinking long game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it really depends on what he wants to do, what his plan is. He might be dumber. He might be dumber than you are. He might have more faith in himself and be like, I want to get to the top right now. So I want to fight the best.
If this is Dana White talking,
I want DC.
Have you ever seen that clip online where Dana White goes, I don't give a fuck? That's what Dana White's saying. He doesn't care what Greg Hardy wants. He's going to do, Greg Hardy is going to do what Dana White tells him to do.
Yeah, and Dana White's going to do whatever makes him more money.
More money, exactly. Yeah. So he needs to milk this for all that it's worth.
Do you remember that? This just popped in my head the other day. Do you remember that period of time when Dana White was like getting in really good shape and he was getting super fit because he was going to box Tito Ortiz?
Yeah. What a stupid thing that was, huh?
How fucking funny was that? It was like that was going on for a while. Like
I remember
lost a lot of weight. He got in shape. It was super weird.
Who do you think would have won?
I kind of think Dana would have won.
I've always been of the opinion that I feel that way too, because Dana at least,
from what I heard, he had a boxing background. He was like a fucking tough street kid who got a degree and
he actually knew how to
box. And Tito, whereas Tito would have definitely beat him in an MMA fight.
He was an atrocious boxer.
Just a god awful boxer.
Yeah.
If you want to see his real boxing skills on display, watch his just glorious knockout of Ryan Bader. It's
guys,
that's a perfect punch.
Do not that was a weird one, huh?
Yeah, right. It was the weirdest punch I've ever seen.
Ryan Bader, he probably goes to bed every night going, fuck, of all the fucking fights I could have lost. Why that one?
Why was that?
And he's doing really well now.
I know, that's the funny thing about it.
Stuck having that shit stain on his record for the rest of his life.
Knocked out by Tito Ortiz. It's like, and how? How?
I know, right?
That punch. It was like this weird, like.
You know what's funny is Chael Sonnen was talking about it one time, and he was basically saying that like there's nothing more embarrassing than having a loss to Tito Ortiz on your record. He was like, and I can't remember what his reasoning was, but he made a really good point. He was just saying, he was like, Tito is one of like this segues just about perfectly into our topic for today.
All right, let's do it.
Good fighters with bad technique. That's what it was, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Tito Ortiz. There's number one right there. Awful
Tito
boxer.
Ortiz.
Good technique wrestling. Decent technique wrestling. I wouldn't say good.
He was. You know what? Tito Ortiz was the first person to really take advantage in MMA of the weight cutting system. He was so much bigger than everybody he fought. He was like the strongest guy in his weight class forever. He was never that good of a wrestler. He was a community college wrestler.
Yeah. For those of you that don't understand, Tito Ortiz, a lot of his early wins were they were kind of by circumstance.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily because he was the more skilled guy. He was just a bigger dude who, like Keith said, really took advantage of the weight cutting system. And he would just he was almost like comparable to a Chris Cyborg of his division or something.
In the time when Tito Ortiz took over, we were still in that early like martial artist style phase of UFC. It was still like the guys who were fighting, they weren't honed MMA fighters. They were martial artists. They were guys who were like these were guys who were competing in karate tournaments, like full contact karate tournaments. These are guys who were doing kickboxing, American kickboxing. They were wearing those fucking satin pants and fucking foam dipped rubber gloves and knocking each other out. And it was cool. It was like a tough man's world back then. It was really exciting. Like
you had some. It was weird because here's the funny thing about that time is that the fighters were far less skilled, but you had some rugged dudes.
Yeah, exactly. It was the Roadhouse era for sure.
It was like a real life Roadhouse.
It was, because they were like those martial arts dude, but they had the mullets and they were just tough.
Only in real life, Patrick Swayze wasn't winning. He was getting his face broken for certain. There was no Patrick Swayze.
No.
Closest thing you're gonna find to that was like a Guy Mesger, maybe.
Right, and I was gonna say, like, what I'm specifically thinking of is Guy Mesger in there fighting Tito Ortiz in Tito's first like MMA. Was it his first MMA fight, or was it his first?
I don't even know. I'll have to look that up.
I know it was like his intro, because he was an alternate. Somebody else was supposed to fight Mesger, and then or somebody else was supposed to fight in that tournament, and Tito went in. And he just wrestled him down the whole time, didn't know what the fuck he was doing. And then Mesger caught him in a guillotine and tapped him out.
That was Tito's second fight.
I think, was it the same night, though? I think.
UFC 13.
Yeah. It was the same night. And it was, but Tito was just fucking big, man. So I'm going to say my number one. I mean, you might have the champion of bad fighters who were good, but my number one has got to be Chris Lieben. Just virtually no technique whatsoever, but that guy could win fights. He was knocking people out, having great fights, even with really good fighters.
I think I'm of the opinion that with Chris Lieben, there must most certainly be a biological reason for that. And I do think it has to do with the fact that the guy's got the head of a giant. And he's like the same height as me. He's like 5'10".
Yeah.
He's got a fucking head on him.
I met him. He was super cool. Really funny guy. Really just like actually fairly articulate to talk to in person. More than you would expect. Super cool guy. His head is like, I don't know how he fucking stays upright. Like, that shit looks like it should be fucking tilting over.
He's got a bobblehead.
He looks like a microphone for sure.
He
like
does,
he looks like this thing right here.
Yeah.
That's the shape of him. He's a thick, solid bodied guy, and then it just gets bigger. Like
that's a really solid choice. I think you're absolutely right on that, right on the money. Chris Lieben. Yeah, he did end up, and that's the most fascinating thing about Chris Lieben is he did end up beating some really good dudes that he probably should have never beat just based on his toughness.
Yeah, his fight with Sexyama.
Yeah, that's the most classic example, and that's a great fight. Really, really good fight.
Mm-hmm. And was that the one he took like 2 weeks after he just fought or something, or
yes,
or did
he had
fight?
a little. I believe so. I think when he fought Sexyama, that was on the same card as Brock Lesnar versus Shane Carwin.
He fought like right before, or he fought right after that. It was like there was like an immediate turnaround involved with that fight.
He most definitely took that fight on short notice. It was Yoshihiro Akiyama. I think that was right after he fought Aaron Simpson.
Okay.
Yeah. So he fought Aaron Simpson on June 19th, 2010.
I fucking forgot about Aaron Simpson.
Me too. Yeah.
That was a pretty decent fighter. Yeah.
That's a name I haven't heard in a while. And then he fought Akiyama about 3 weeks later on June 3rd, 2010. Maybe 2.
Right.
Yeah. And he won that triangle choke. And then he had that fucking crazy fight with Brian Stan at UFC 125 in 2011 where yeah, that was great. And he got savagely TKO'd and kneed in that fight.
Right. I fucking forgot about that one.
And then after that, this is the most impressive thing, which is a classic example.
If you're not getting this from listening to this right now, you guys really should, if you're not that familiar with it, get into the career of Chris Lieben, because that guy has had a fucking roller coaster ride.
But then get this. After that Brian Stan loss, he comes back, fights Wanderlei Silva at UFC 132.
I fucking forgot about that one.
Cold.
Yeah.
First round, 27 seconds in. And that was actually the same card where Tito Ortiz knocked out Ryan Bader. Believe it or not.
God, poor Ryan Bader.
The main event of that card was Uriah Faber versus Dominic Cruz.
Yeah.
Fuck. Something else. That's a fun card right there.
Yeah.
I remember that fight. That was a fun fight.
It'd be a good one to go back and watch for sure.
So yeah, Chris
Um,
Lieben, obviously, super interesting career, super interesting just in general. Yeah.
another good one. I was thinking of Scott Smith. Good, exciting fights. He's got some boxing to him, but I feel like he's more just like a hard hitter than he is a good fighter. Like I don't think he's technically sound as he is just fucking like
Scott Smith felt very
See, I wouldn't put him in the same category. Like that's why Chris Lieben was my number one. He wasn't like a good fighter in the sense that like he was super memorable, but he definitely had some exciting fights. Remember his fight with Pete Sell?
Yes, his fight with Pete Sell. That of course that fucking gnarly come from behind win against
who was that? What?
When the one where Scott Smith had it looked like he took a body shot. I think
that was Pete Sell.
That was the Pete Sell fight? Okay.
Pete Sell caught him. Pete Sell had really crisp boxing. Scott Smith had this wide, loopy kind of long shot boxing. Pete Sell had a lot tighter of a frame and shorter arms, and they were just working each other in their respective elements. It was actually a really good fight. And Pete Sell caught Smith with a really sharp I believe he had been over the course of the fight been landing this liver shot on him, and he just hit him with one that crumpled him. He started to turn over, and when Sell came in to finish him off, Smith just fucking turned it on and just hit him with a fucking missile across the chin and knocked him out on the spot. And then they both fell on the ground, and Scott Smith was just like grabbing his liver like, holy shit. And Pete Sell was just like in fucking the astral plane trying to grab his consciousness. And
that was one of the craziest come from behind wins like ever till this day. That was pretty shocking.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people thought he faked it. Like that was a big thing, is that like people were like,
that was before
awesome.
That was before they knew that typically liver shots will yield a delayed response.
A delayed, yeah. Well, I mean, he was hurting when it happened.
Delayed onset liver soreness.
Delayed onset liver pain.
So far you've said Tito Ortiz, awesome choice.
Well, that was yours.
Well, Tito Ortiz is mine. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Tito Ortiz is like the quintessential bad fighter, good fighter.
Then you went Chris Lieben. Obviously a solid choice. Then you went Scott Smith. I'm going to counter my own. I was going to say I'm going to counter your Tito Ortiz, but I didn't realize I chose him. I'm going to counter my own Tito Ortiz with arguably the king of bad good fighters. This, in my opinion, is the undisputed. This is the number one. Not
Paul Marlins?
No. Ken Shamrock.
Oh, come on, man.
You can't trump Ken Shamrock. There's no better example of. Now, I'm not saying that Ken Shamrock is a good fighter by any means. Don't get this twisted. I am saying, however, if you were to look over Ken Shamrock's record, you might be surprised to find that there's some pretty big wins on there.
He beat Boss Rutan like 2-3 times or something like that. I know
that was the example I was gonna use to win you over.
I'm so glad I could just cut you off with that. Like, I'm really glad I got to stuff you with that one. But yeah, Ken Shamrock. The thing is, what I was gonna counter that with, Ken Shamrock was one of the like earliest actual technicians as far as MMA goes, with like ground fighting and everything. Awful striking, just unbearable striking.
He's got a lot of knee bars and heel hooks on his record.
But he was one of the original like ground fighters, or guys who, like, even before there was UFC, when they were doing martial arts competitions, Ken Shamrock was in the mix doing that.
So is it fair to say that maybe I'm willing
it's
to?
It's more like he's a bad fighter with good technique. It's closer to that. Like,
well, I'm willing to acknowledge that maybe I might be judging Shamrock unfairly, because you could really, if you're looking at Ken Shamrock's record, it's the tale of two fight records. You could split it up into kind of 1990s and then post 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets pretty spotty after the 90s where it's just loss after loss.
Right. When he and during that time he was already older. The sport had evolved so far beyond where he was at. Like
I'm gonna go one step further, and I'm gonna say one of the biggest career MMA wise, one of the biggest career mistakes he made. I think when he went to WWE, he may have lost focus.
Sure, probably.
He was original Brock Lesnar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I could see that. I mean, I don't know a lot about his WWE career. I knew that he was in it.
He was incredible. Best pro wrestler you've ever seen. Put Shawn Michaels to shame. Not
amazing.
He was an awful pro wrestler.
Awful pro wrestler.
He had a funny character. They had this storyline that they did one time where he had a sister named Ryan Shamrock, and I think it was The Rock was having sex with her, and that's all I got. That's all I remember of that storyline.
Just The Rock and Ryan Shamrock.
The Rock was laying the smack at the down.
Shamrock,
I believe.
Right. Yeah, I see. Like I don't know anything about that. But how about this for a good bad fighter? It's hard to say about this one though, because he's not really like a bad fighter. He doesn't really have bad technique, but he's just got really big holes in his game. How about James Irvin?
I don't know if I would throw James Irvin into that category as much as not a good. To me, James Irvin just isn't notable enough.
I think notable is all he is, though. Like he wasn't consistent, but all of his wins were like super fucking exciting. Everything that he had was really fucking dope. It was really notable. That flying knee against Terry Martin.
He did have, but that's like really all he's got.
He knocked out Houston Alexander.
Oh, the Houston Alexander. Okay, yeah,
beautiful
right.
Superman punch. Probably like the most picture perfect Superman punch I've ever seen.
Those two wins right there are what got him the Anderson Silva fight where he was thoroughly embarrassed in front of the
he absolutely had no business being
See, I remember that. Well, you know what I remember James Irvin for was the worst weight cut in the history of MMA, where he looked like he was dying.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, horrific. Yeah,
it was horrible.
Yeah,
that was bad.
Was that the fight when he fought Anderson Silva?
I don't know. Yeah, I want to say it was because that was 185. He got all sucked up for it.
Like absolutely sick and sucked up. It was just tragic looking.
That was really, really fucking awful.
That's a guy. That's a powerful guy. That guy fucking hits. But that brings me back to another fighter that I wouldn't describe him as like a bad technique fighter, but another fighter I really like that never really went far. He fought Alessio Sakara and he got punched in the eye, and he thought that he got poked in the eye.
Yes, so, I remember that.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was yeah. I don't know what you would call that. But, is that him trying to work the system a little bit?
No, he thought the corner of the glove hit him in the eye, and he thought he got poked. Like that can feel like an eye poke. But
I figured out what it was. The very fight you're talking about, that was the horrible weight.
That was the horrible weight. Okay.
So maybe he didn't have his wits about him.
Yeah, maybe. But no, that's another fighter I like a lot, Alessio Sakara. That guy had some really great knockouts too.
He just fought not that long ago too. He tried to make a little comeback, but I think he fought for Bellator, but I don't think he did very well.
I don't know. I didn't even know he was alive, if I'm being completely honest.
My next choice is going to be the most controversial choice.
Okay.
Bar none. However, despite how this is one of my favorite fighters too, one of my favorites, but I'm still going to pick him. I'm going to go, it's going to sound crazy, I'm going to go Carlos Condit.
What?
Carlos Condit.
Come on.
No.
How?
Just hear me out. if you look at Carlos, this is something, even though I love Carlos Condit, this is something that has nagged me about Carlos Condit. And it might be kind of nitpicky, but I think
it's nitpicky. I'm giving you that right now.
I think it's a big deal that has held him back. And I think it's something, if he would have addressed when he was younger, I think it's held him back. And it's caused him issues. If you look at the way he fights, Carlos Condit is one of the most flat-footed fighters I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
And he constantly pushes off of his back foot, and he doesn't, when he throws kicks, when he throws punches, he doesn't roll off the balls of his feet at all.
Mm-hmm.
And he had that big knee injury, that ACL tear, when he fought Tyrone Woodley, that set him back a few years.
Mm-hmm.
But it's crazy to me that he doesn't have somebody in his ear that's watching that and hasn't tried to correct it by now, because he still does it till this day.
Yeah, but that's one thing. That doesn't mean that he's like he's a technically bad fighter. He's very good technically, but he has one major drawback. And
that's what I was going to say. That one thing, it to me is absolutely major.
It is major. That is a problem. I'm not disagreeing with you. I am disagreeing with you that he fits on this list. That is a massively controversial.
You're trying to tell me that Carlos Condit doesn't belong in the same company as Ken Shamrock and James Irvin?
No.
You're wrong, sir.
Yeah, you're wrong, sir. But that,
and
that does remind me.
As much as it pains me to do it, let's pull up Carlos Condit's record. Because you know what? He hasn't been doing so well lately. And
he hasn't fought in like fucking 4 years, man.
No.
He fought like 2 years ago or something. But like,
no.
Aside from Chiesa, yeah, we know what happened there. We already talked about it.
No. You're absolutely wrong. Carlos Condit. Wait a minute. His last 4 fights. His last 5 fights were losses. Michael Chiesa, Alex Oliveira, Neil Magny, Damian Maia, Robbie Lawler.
Those are horrible people.
And
aside from Robbie Lawler and Damian Maia.
2018, 2017, 16, 16, and 15. So those are all recent. And dare I say, if he'd have fixed those flat
it's
feet,
2019, bro. Get the time, okay?
All I'm saying is Carlos Condit. Somebody needs to buy him some Dr. Scholl's.
Yeah,
he needs to fix those feet.
Guy needs to do a little jump rope, get on those toes a little bit.
You know what's funny is in the process of thinking about this, I didn't. If you couldn't tell, I didn't think this one out at all. It's just something about Carlos Condit that's always bugged me. But I do
terrible choice
remember
for his list. I still maintain he's got great technique in almost every area. Just
it's not like you're a fighter and you would know. I'm pretty sure I remember him going on Joe Rogan's podcast like 3 years ago, and he was doing all those those workouts with that it wasn't Ido Portal, but it was the other dude who was doing all these like nature workouts where they're balancing on wood, and like he was doing all these feet work. So I think he did try to address it. He just picked the wrong dude, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah. That was my big reveal.
God damn, I don't know where we're gonna go from there.
I think our list is pretty solid so far.
But yeah, no, that reminds me of another person with good technique that just did not have a fucking sterling career because he fought him, Dan Hardy.
Yeah,
that's a guy who has just crisp, beautiful like art technique,
very fluid.
Could not fucking put those wins together.
I think
huge fucking Dan Hardy fan.
Here's why it was tough for Dan Hardy, because he did. I remember Dan Hardy's a really interesting guy too, because he was a monk.
Yeah,
he was a Shaolin monk.
He spent time as a Shaolin monk doing kung fu in the fucking mountain. Like, that's because I remember they were showing that because when he fought GSP, he was like, he's not a martial artist. He's like, I'm not a martial artist.
I was a monk. He was like a real life Batman or Daredevil.
Yeah, he straight up did that. It's so fucking
yeah, he definitely super crisp, very light on his feet, like just moved nicely.
When you watch him like hit bags or hit pads, it's like it's absolutely beautiful. It's like the way his body synchronizes from his feet
Yeah.
to his hands, the way his head moves, everything's very
Well, and that's
slick.
why that's probably why he's such a good analyst. Now.
Yeah.
He's probably him and maybe Robin Black or I don't know who else. But he's one of the best analysts in the game when he breaks down.
Absolutely.
I love
Yeah.
watching his pre-UFC breakdowns where
Yeah.
he kind of tells you how he thinks the fight will go.
Yeah, I love his commentary and his breakdowns. He's definitely one of the best analysts in the game.
Dan Hardy may have been too much of a martial artist because he did have a big hole in his wrestling. I think that's what held him back more than anything.
Sure. That and twin left hooks with Carlos Condit.
Carlos Condit,
short
that's
end
one of
that,
the best knockouts ever. It's amazing Carlos Condit was able to do that despite his flat feet.
That was, you know what? You gave me a liver shot.
It shocks me.
Had a delayed reaction. Oh man. Yeah. It's exactly what popped in my head when you were saying that. I was like, well, here we have Dan Hardy with perfect technique.
Well, hey,
knocking him out.
Yeah, just goes to show you.
Perfect technique isn't everything, guys.
Nope.
Technique isn't everything. Sometimes you got to be Chris Lieben. Chris never lose Lieben because he's never lost.
What's amazing too is that Dan Hardy, for some reason I had always assumed that he was when he retired. He's still retired, but he had that thing with his heart where they didn't want to let him fight. But apparently, he said it wasn't a problem. It's called like Wolf something syndrome. He has like an irregular heartbeat.
Intense.
And Dan Hardy was known for having like crazy good cardio too, which is odd that they wouldn't let him fight.
Heart problems, wolf heart syndrome.
Yeah, but he's coming off of he hasn't fought
a wolf.
2012, which is like ancient history now, and his last two fights were both wins over Amir Sadallah and Dwayne Ludwig.
Those are good wins.
Yeah.
Amir Sadallah, shit, it's going back.
I know, right?
Yeah,
that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Same.
And he hasn't
good fighter. Not a bad.
He was very good. Yeah. His last fight was against Akiyama in 2014. He hasn't fought since then.
Yeah. Well, he
amazing thing about
Sadallah had a lot of injuries and shit too. Like
he did.
He had I think he had like a painkiller problem.
Did he? I think he might be getting him confused.
I might be, but I'm no. I think
was that him?
He had like a thing, but I might be thinking of like some like inside track information, word around the campfire type things.
He was on that. He was on that very entertaining season of The Ultimate Fighter with Matt Brown and CB Dollaway and Gerald Harris, and there was all kinds of.
He entered into that with no professional fights.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's the crazy thing about Amir Sadallah is he's never had a fight outside of the UFC.
Yeah, and he went straight into the UFC, and
he did fairly well. He had some. He beat CB Dollaway, Phil Baroni, Brad Blackburn, Peter Sabata, DeMarcus Johnson, George Lopez.
Brad Blackburn.
George Lopez. Jorge Lopez. My apologies. I did right now exactly what we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast. I saw the name George with a J.
And you just whited it out.
It as George.
Yeah, you just completely whited out that name. Oh man, that is good stuff. Yeah, that was an interesting season. That was an interesting guy, Amir Sadallah. He won the show, right? That's what I remember. He won the show, and then he had like injuries, and he had to like go on hiatus for his the start of his actual UFC career.
Yep, he definitely won that. He won that season. Mike Dolce was on that season too. That's funny.
Really?
Yeah, Mike Dolce. Jesse Taylor was on that season.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Jesse Taylor.
And he came back. Jesse Taylor came back, and he won the Ultimate Fighter again a couple years ago. The comeback season. They did another comeback. They did another comeback season a couple years ago, where they brought in former contestants from the show that had blown it, and he won that one. But
I like Jesse Taylor. There's something about his face that reminds me of Kuwabara from Yu Yu Hakusho.
He kind of looks like. He looks like Baraka from Mortal Kombat.
little bit. Oh, when he's bald?
And he's bald.
Yeah. I'm thinking about back when he had hair when he was on the show originally. He had like this Kuwabara look to him.
Yeah, he did. You're right. Oh man, he looks just like Kuwabara. He talks through his nose. Dude talks like this. Talks through his nose.
Yeah. Shit. What was I trying to think of right now? But yeah, I think we're getting about to that special time of day when we're gonna have to start wrapping this up. I do have to get ready for work, but
yes, indeed.
Anything else we wanted to touch on? Will we still have time?
I think that pretty much covers it for me. I mean, we covered the ESPN card. We covered, all of the world's.
You heard it here first, guys. We don't know a lot about most of the fighters on the ESPN card, so we don't really know who's going to win. But both of us are going for Dillashaw.
Both of us are going for Dillashaw. I do already know who wins. I got a big scoop. I know who wins in the Rachel Ostovich, Paige Van Zandt fight.
You've got a scoop.
Mm-hmm. All of us. Everybody
wins.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins, guys.
We have one.
Like, as long as you watch that fight, fucking everybody wins.
Watch
it's
the
gonna
weigh-ins,
be it's gonna be a beautiful fight. I don't need to see either of them throw one punch. I could give a shit as long as
I'm just gonna watch the weigh-ins.
Yeah. Definitely watching the weigh-ins this time. Yeah. Well, all right. Join us for the UFC presented by Brazzers. It's going to be a big sponsor in the middle.
No, it's funny. If Brazzers was to put together a scene with a Rachel Ostovich and a Paige Van Zandt, and they had to shoehorn a man in there, I could see him looking like Jesse Taylor, and I could see him coming in. You guys ordered the big sausage pizza, like with just some really awful acting. And then Rachel Ostovich and Paige Van Zandt have to clearly fight over the pizza. There's only one way that they can solve this dilemma.
It's through his dick.
Jesse Taylor, if he ever hears this, I feel like he will like us.
Yeah. Get in there, Jesse. You should ref that fight. I want to see Jesse Taylor reffing this fight.
Yeah, we can make this happen.
Yeah. No, this is going to be a good one. All right, guys. Give us a like, a follow, a share, the Back and Bone Show, Instagram, Facebook, and follow Matt too. He does stuff.
Follow me at Matt Reviews Media. And I've actually been very active on it lately. I've been reviewing a lot of movies. So.
Yeah, he likes to think so.
And other things. So
come check us out for our next episode. We got a couple things in line. We're looking to put out an official review of Mandy plus spoilers, so we'll be having that come out soon. You're going to be getting the bones picks of random ass movies that you probably haven't seen, and if you have, you'll hear what I have to say about them. We're going to be looking into The Lobster. Did you get a chance to see that yet?
No, not yet, but I will before our next podcast. I do have one quick note that I forgot to mention. Punker Mike sent me a very, very hilarious movie trailer.
Okay.
I was wondering if you knew that this existed.
Don't tell me it's The Greasy Strangler, because
no. It was this movie. Well, let me pull it up real quick before I forget. It was a movie with Matthew McConaughey and Peter Dinklage, where and then it also has Gary Oldman, and it's about dwarfs. What is this movie? I think it was called Tiptoes. Hold on 1 second. I'm finding it right now.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy?
No. Tiptoes. It was called Tiptoes.
I don't think I've seen it. No.
This movie has Matthew McConaughey, Kate Beckinsale, Patricia Arquette, Gary Oldman, and a. You have to watch this.
How are there this many famous people? Tiptoes.
Never released. Nationally.
Okay.
You gotta.
That sounds like that's right up my alley. Actually, it's
Tiptoes. TIP toes. It looks like one of the worst shit bombs to ever be made.
Really?
You're going to be baffled, and you're going to wonder how you've gotten through life and you've never heard of this. So
that reminds me,
Mike, for sending me, because we have to watch this movie and review it. It's pretty
for sure. So the next episode, you will be hearing an in-depth review of Tiptoes.
Yes,
expect that. And that reminds me. Have you ever seen Heat, Vision, and Jack?
Heat Vision Jack.
Heat Vision
No.
and Jack.
Heat Vision and Jack. No, I have not.
Produced by Ben Stiller.
Mm-hmm.
It's a TV series pilot that the show was not given the go-ahead, starring Jack Black as a man who, triggered by the sun, he was an ex-astronaut who came too close to the sun, and triggered by sunlight, his brain is full potential is unlocked, and he knows everything in the world. And he's accompanied by his roommate, who was transformed by NASA into a talking motorcycle, voiced by Owen Wilson.
I feel like I know somebody this has happened to. This sounds strikingly familiar to my own life.
Yeah, you need to watch this show.
Okay, it sounds insane.
It's only one episode. It's called Heat Vision and Jack. And
What year is this from?
It was from like I think it was late 90s.
I'm gonna have to look this up. I didn't know this existed. This sounds
dude,
definitely on par with Tiptoes.
It's only like 20 minutes long, and it is fucking hysterical. You gotta watch it.
Okay, will do.
All right. Thanks again for joining us, guys, and for a little post-credit discussion there, preview of the next episode.
Indeed.
We'll be back.
Play, guys.